There was a time when shooters didn't hold your hand, when it was just you, winding corridors and unknown horrors lurking around every corner. No cover systems, no tutorials, just raw reflexes and pure chaos. Prodeus brings that feeling back. The game has satisfying gunplay, a dynamic soundtrack, an intense, ultra-violent combat that mimics the style of Doom and Quake while utilizing modern lighting effects. Prodeus features an arsenal of weapons, including a shotgun, plasma rifle, grenade launcher, rocket launcher, and minigun. It also has excellent sound design, beautiful explosions, and an authentic retro feel. Prodeus is widely regarded as one of the best modern retro shooters, and it ultimately succeeds because it understands exactly what made classic shooters work and what modern players expect. Mullet Madjack isn't just fast, it weaponizes urgency. Every encounter runs on a timer, forcing constant aggression. You're not just playing cautiously, you're pushing forward or failing. Its design strips decision-making down to instinct. Shoot, move, survive. There's no room for hesitation. But what makes it effective is how everything supports that loop. Level design, enemy placement, and even the visuals. They all reinforce speed. This isn't just a retro-inspired shooter. It's a system built entirely around momentum. Mullet Madjack's high-octane gameplay, retro anime aesthetic, cheesy humor, and synthwave soundtrack help it stand out. Mullet Madjack blends elements of Hotline Miami, Doom, and Hades into a unique boomer shooter experience that is not to be missed. Ion Fury runs on a modified version of the famed build engine that powered legendary shooters like Duke Nukem 3D, Shadow Warrior, and Blood. It preserves the speed and fluidity of 90s game design, but layers in modern precision. The game makes a strong first impression with frantic gunplay and gory combat. Ion Fury's first episode masterfully crafts detailed, non-linear maps packed with hidden paths that reward exploration. One of the game's standout features is the weapon's alternate fire modes. Your starting pistol, dubbed the Lover Boy, has an alt-fire lock-on feature. Other weapons function as multi-use systems. The shotgun operates as a grenade launcher, while the SMG's alternate fire sets enemies ablaze. Ion Fury pays tribute to the classic first-person shooters of the 90s, and is a modern retro shooter that hails to the king. Turbo Overkill is a fast-paced, retro-inspired first-person shooter that has fast movement, chainsaw leg mechanics, and gory, high-octane combat. The game follows Johnny Turbo, a cyborg with a chainsaw for a leg, on a mission to stop a rogue AI named Sin. Turbo Overkill plays at a relentless pace and features creative weapon variety and escalating difficulty in a comparable blend of Quake, Serious Sam, and Doom Eternal, with a heavy emphasis on excess and absurdity. Its neon-drenched cyberpunk aesthetics are outstanding, and its stellar synthwave to orchestral soundtrack evolves with the game's intensity. Turbo Overkill is a masterfully composed symphony of violence that successfully merges 90s shooters nostalgia with modern game design, making it an easy recommendation for FPS fans. If you love the 1997 classic horror FPS Blood, then I have a game for you. Cultic utilizes a modified build engine aesthetic within a modern Unity framework and distinguishes itself through satisfying combat, spray-heavy gore, and a washed-out color palette designed to emulate 1960s horror films. The narrative features a nameless detective, known as the Outsider, who infiltrates a bloodthirsty cult in an early 1960s setting. The game has superb level design, which features large branching maps with hidden secrets and a versatile weapon selection that includes dynamite, lever-action rifles, and upgradable firearms. Chapter 2 of Cultic was released in 2025, and it concludes the narrative arc. Cultic is easily one of the best boomer shooters on the market. I wholeheartedly recommend Cultic to any fans of retro-style shooters. Medieval's dark fantasy theme and retro-inspired visuals are inspired by classic FPS games like Heretic and Hexen. However, the game doesn't simply imitate these classics. It studies what made them work, their pacing, and their emphasis on movement, and then adds modern precision to the mix. The result is something that feels familiar, but operates differently. Players utilize a magical arsenal, including spellcasting staves and projectile-firing swords. A core mechanic involves collecting souls from defeated enemies to activate Soul Mode, which temporarily overcharges weapons into powerful, screen-clearing abilities. Medieval is a modern classic in the retro FPS genre, successfully refining the formula of its inspirations with improved pacing and visual fidelity. It's not nostalgia as replication, but nostalgia as optimization. Warhammer 40,000 Boltgun successfully merges the retro-style aesthetics of 90s FPS games with the universe of Warhammer 40k. The game features fast-paced, retro-style first-person combat where players control a Space Marine using a variety of powerful weapons, including the Boltgun, Chainsword, and Heavy Bolter. This game utilizes a strength versus toughness system, where weapon effectiveness depends on matching or exceeding enemy toughness, and a dual-layer armor system that encourages aggressive playstyles. Every weapon prioritizes feedback over restraint. Sprites burst apart. Audio design emphasizes weight and finality. The result is a constant reinforcement of player authority within the gaming space. Warhammer 40,000 Boltgun has excellent gunplay, gore effects, and an authentic atmosphere. Any gamer hungry for the next retro shooter should give this game a try. Dread Templar serves as a love letter to 90s FPS titles. The game has fast-paced gameplay, intricate level design, and a great metal soundtrack. Players engage in relentless demon slaughter using a diverse arsenal of weapons, ranging from dual pistols and SMGs to the Hellfire Magnum and Gauntlet. There are more than 100 different upgrades for powers and weapons to define your own playstyle. The game features a challenging difficulty curve with scarce health pickups, requiring players to explore labyrinthian levels for secrets and upgrades to survive. Playing Dread Templar is retro first-person shooter 101. However, the game adds some modern gaming conventions like a dash ability and a slow-mo bar that help Dread Templar deviate from the norm. Dread Templar is a nice mix of old and new FPS designs, a game that no retro FPS enthusiast should miss. Selaco blends inspirations from Fear, System Shock 2, and Doom and delivers hyper-violent, tactical gunplay, destructible environments, dynamic lighting, and robust enemy AI that forces players to use cover and strategy rather than simple run-and-gun tactics. Enemies don't just react, they coordinate, they reposition, suppress, flank, and retreat. They use the environment not as a backdrop, but as a resource. Selaco succeeds because it doesn't just lean on the past. It takes the immediacy of classic shooters and modernizes the retro formula. Destruction and interactivity are central to the game experience. Selaco offers a unique fusion of Fear-style combat running on Doom engine tech that delivers a gameplay loop rarely seen in modern indie titles and creates a visceral atmosphere that rivals many AAA shooters. There's been so many great retro-inspired first-person shooters released in the last 5 to 10 years. If I missed any, let me know in the comments. Be sure to check out this playlist covering some of my favorite video games from my childhood. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of The Voiceover Gamer.